The modern understanding of sweat only really began in the 1800s. As people started to study human bodies and anatomy, both out of curiosity and because, for the first time in a long time, it was not taboo to, cut up the dead people to figure out what's going on inside of them. Welcome back to Privy. Privy is a podcast about bathrooms, recorded from my home bathroom. I'm your host, Hunter Hoover, and I love bathrooms. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome back, and happy Privy summer. It's here, it's hot, and everybody's got a little bit of sweat where they don't want it. On the day that I prepared this episode, it was a sweltering 5 degrees hot. Now, if you're hearing this and you're going, how could that be possible? This episode's coming out or has come out just shortly after or before the first day of summer. Due to my schedule right now, I could not tell you exactly where this episode lands. However, it shouldn't be this hot. And it's cooled off. It's a day of record. It's actually cooled off a bit. But still, I got in my car and it said 101. It's June. That's late July, mid-August death temperature. I'm not mentally or physically prepared for that. Something my doctor let me know today. It's not even summer yet. You're telling me the summer sun it's good for making my lawn brown. It's good for making me grumpy. And it brings on the big summer sweating. It just really puts a big sweat right on your backside. Here on Privy, we're concerned with sweat, particularly because I'm a sweat monster. And sweat often intersects with many of the things that we have going on in the bathroom, which is directly related to how that sweat interfaces with our downstairs zone, your privates, and other areas. There's a lot of products and workarounds and tips and tricks and things that you can employ to help fight the summer sweating. And we're going to look at a few of those this episode. But before we dive in to look at how can I remedy my big wet stink, we need to get a feel for sweat, really get a flavor for sweat and really just inhale, really sniff in the essence that is sweat. Really wrap our minds around and get acquainted with and really just get in over our heads with the concept of sweat. And to do so, we need to look and dive headfirst into the pool that is the history of sweat. Yep. Many people would hear that sentence that I just said, that we need to observe the history of sweat. And they'd say to themselves, I don't think we do. I think actually we don't have to go into the history of sweat. I don't think it needs to be done, but these people, one, have likely never listened to our show. Why draw a straight line when you can create a masterpiece along? Quote it. This show has never been concerned with jumping to the case. We have to make a meal out of this sweat-stained, sweat-soaked pile of just summer lovin'. So to do so, we got to dive right on into it. Speaking of wet, we're back. The Polar Seltzer has returned. I'm rocking that cranberry clementine. It's pretty good. It's not edging out orange vanilla or even Georgia peach for my top 2 flavors, but it is good. It is good. And it would be reductive to say that what we're going to talk about is a history of sweat, because really, sweat's history, the history of sweat, has been around as long as people have been hot and getting sweaty. Pretty much was there people, and that's how far back sweat goes. Rather, when we say the history of sweat, we're going to stroll through the history and understanding of what sweat is and why we sweat. Like, how did we come to understand this thing? And with so many topics that are either directly or semi-directly related to the medical world and bathrooms, we begin our look at sweat in none other than ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt, we're back. I got my Pokemon bucket gardener's hat. It's a classic tourist. It's summer sweating. You got to have a summer hat for summer sweating. And we've ventured into ancient Egypt so often on the show. It's such a place that is rife with information for this podcast to sow its bathroom seeds, if you will. The ancient Egyptian view of sweat was really complex in nature, actually. Some accounts seem to suggest that in Egyptian mythology, humans were created as a byproduct or from the result of the sweat and tears of the god Ra. And it's difficult to determine in this mythology and this story whether it is literally his sweat and tears or if it's like, like a euphemism for Ra's hard work, like his sweat and tears. Now, either way, some accounts of Egyptian culture, then because humans derive from this sweat, regard sweat in it highly. And they view it actually as a connection to the divine. If that's the case, when I'm at the gym, here's what I know. Some of us connect with that a little harder than others. I mean, I'll come off that cardio machine just straight up looking like I took a swim with my shirt on, for real. Honest. It's wet out here in the gym. But in other accounts, the Egyptians believed that this sweat in humans actually made them unclean. It was like dirty and bad. And they had many rules and social customs related to how to stay clean, how to avoid getting too sweaty, and if you do, how to cleanse yourself appropriately and thus remain clean for the gods that you seek to appease. Now, we've talked in the past about ancient Egyptian bathing rituals and baths. And go check the episodes out. You can search it in the new Privycast website, privy-cast.com. Click episodes and you can search right in there. Just type in Egyptian. I'm sure it'll pop up. It does because I tested it. But in those episodes, one of the things we learned was that for many of these ancient cultures, not just ancient Egypt, for many of these ancient cultures, cleanliness, the idea of being clean, like rubber ducky, squeaky beaky clean, is literally next to godliness. Like cleanliness is next to godliness. For them, that was very true. Like if you want to appease your God, you had better be clean. To be clean made you able to interact with that deity and please them in some way. And it's really unfortunate, to have this view and this religious system that is so, worried about your sweat. It's unfortunate that they lived in such a hot, desertous, sweaty part of the world. I mean, like, could not Ra, if he's going to set this system up or whichever thing that they're worshiping, could they not have plopped them down like somewhere like mid country Canada where it's a little drier and a little bit like less wet and less sweaty? Like, I mean, there's lots of places where I feel like Egypt and like the desert is like the primo location. Maybe a rainforest would be worse, but like it's like the worst spot if you don't want to get sweaty. Anyway, it's just a bummer, that's where you live and then like sweat's a problem to like your whole religious thing. This view related to and connected to the idea that sweat was your body's way of ridding itself of demonic sources and quote unquote bad humors. Now, this idea became more popularly shared in ancient Greek and Roman cultures and was put into writing by Hippocrates, specifically the humors. But I want to note this idea of like, you're sweating the demons out. Like, again, they probably thought that, oh, this magical moisture that just just appears on my arm, where's it coming from? Like, it's got to be and it stinks, and stinky stuff is evil. And you can kind of see where these ideas develop from. But this idea that you are leveling out, or that it's related to balancing your humors, was further written about by Hippocrates and other quote unquote physicians of their day, these Greek and Roman physicians. And you know how like I can't impersonate a doctor? I think it's either a federal or state crime. If I impersonate a doctor, I'm definitely going to get in trouble. Well, like, I feel like Hippocrates and many of these other Greek and Roman blokes that were running around like with wild medical advice and ideas, I feel like if they had been around today, they would have been arrested for impersonating a doctor. Like, I'm just saying, like, they called themselves doctors and they had some good ideas. It's not called the Hippocratic Oath for nothing. I'm just saying, it seems like, I don't know. I feel like there's some imposter syndrome. But the idea of humors, this idea that humors in our bodies, we've talked about this before in the show, but it essentially says our bodies are ruled by 4 substances. These substances are blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. Now, blood, yes, I totally get where they come from that. Black and yellow bile, whatever. I'm not even going to try to figure out where they're getting that idea. Like poo and pee, black, yellow. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's just my thoughts. I don't think that's what it was, but here we are. But my question is, like, how bad were the allergies in this sitch that, like, phlegm just makes it on the list of, like, yeah, these are the 4 main, like, liquids that our body is made up of. I mean, the allergies had to be pretty significant. Like, we're mid-allergy season. I'm staring at the Nasacort. I'm staring at the Allegra. I'm staring at the eye drops. We got the trifecta. I get allergies, but, like, I would never consider one of my major fluids phlegm. Just saying. The view at this time, to put into writing around the 400s by Hippocrates, was that the body's way of balancing these humors could be evidenced through sweating. Now, it was kind of like the sweat indicates that your body has an imbalance of these humors and is working to right course inside of you. That, like, it's trying to do work to make your body be balanced in this way. Around these times, in these ancient periods, stretching back, ancient practices of Roman baths, Asian spas and saunas, and Native American and Native peoples' approaches to sweat lodges suggests that this idea of sweating it out is long tied to cleansing something bad within you or resetting something about you. Either way, whether the sweat or something process going on inside you, it was viewed for a long time that sweat is an indicator of something wrong. It was viewed as this is either evidence of or a sign that your body has something wrong and is trying to correct that. This view would be the primary view held about sweat up until 1833. The modern understanding of sweat only really began in the 1800s. As people started to study human bodies and anatomy, both out of curiosity and because, like, for the first time in a long time, it was not taboo to, like, cut up the dead people to figure out what's going on inside of them, as well as the invention of the microscope, which allowed them to look at these incredibly small things. The first of these scientists that began to study the skin and look at these things was Marcello Malpighi. Now, I probably blew it. He's Italian. It's a me, Mario. And before anybody asks, no, I have not got my grubby little fingies on a Nintendo Switch. Can't find them. Ain't really trying super hard. Don't have time. Moving on. We're just... But Marcello Malpighi discovered sweat pores around 1833. These were the general pores that were found on most of the human body. More of that in a moment. And, like, if you see my skin, is not great. But, like, you might be able to see some of those pores. Get it. More on these pores in a moment. But the glands that are, like, inside and down inside that we can't see, that power these pores, were later discovered by Czech physiologist Johannes Perkinge. Now, again, I definitely butchered that because there is a J coupled with an N. It's tricky for me. Sorry, Mr. Perkinge, or however. But he discovered these pores in these glands inside these pores, and they're found to be tubular structures inside the skin that produce what we call sweat and are known as sudoriferous glands, based on the Latin word for sweat, which is sudor. Sudoriferous glands. That's sudoriferous. Sudorifer fragilistic. Expifragilistic. You know what I'm saying? But the gland itself is made up of a section inside the gland that secretes, which, man, that's a tough, secrete is a tough word because it essentially means leak. It's like controlled leakage, which I do frequently. But it secretes the sweat and another section, which then acts to move that sweat away from the gland and the pore. There's a lot of science and anatomy and physiology and all this stuff going on around how this works. And if you're here for that, go watch a medical science YouTube video. There's probably a flip jillion YouTube videos. You just go on there and type in like the makeup of sweat glands. And I'm sure that there is some AI generated something out there where you can go watch like Miss Frizzle take all of the Magic School Bus kids we're going to get just lodged inside of somebody's blackhead. And then they all get set free when the teenager squish and it just shoots the Magic School Bus into oblivion. Like, I'm sure that's out there. If you are needing that, that's not this show, but it's probably out there. I mean, there's something out there for everybody, if you know what I'm saying. But the thing is, see in my notes, butt is written with 2 T's. Like, that's truly facts. Thing is, you have sweat glands everywhere. Like, everywhere. But what is interesting is these sweat glands, though they are everywhere, they are distributed differently throughout the body. And everybody's body is different. Even your palms and fingies have sweat glands, though they're sometimes not as active depending on like callus and dry skin and all that stuff. And other parts of your body, like your armpits and your crevices, tend to have a different feature. We'll talk about that in a moment. But this different density and distribution of sweat glands and sweat pores was first investigated by Karl Kraus of Germany. Later, Henry Gray of Great Britain suggested that the concentration of these pores was about 370 for every centimeter on your palm, and the back of the hand was about 200 per centimeter. Your forehead has about 175 a centimeter. Your arms, chest, and tummy, about 155, and your legs have more than 60 to 80 per centimeter. And something became evident as they studied sweat glands more and more. Some of these sweat glands were different than the others, either in size or in output. In 1887, the idea of sweat glands was separated by what they secrete, and really this served to focus in on sweat glands versus more oil-producing glands. The work to separate out sweat and oil glands was largely done by Louis Antoine Ranvier, who found some to be what they call holocrine glands or sebaceous glands, which are related to oils, and then merocrine glands, which are more related to sweat. And my understanding is the difference between holocrine and merocrine is like how they output the stuff that they output. So that goes on. But then 30 years later, they further distinguished between those merocrine, the sweat glands themselves. I got to tell you something. You got to be way into sweat or way into science, or maybe you're just a deviant, I don't know, to be parsing out the difference between these sweat glands to this varying degree. And I don't know, because I've been sitting here talking about sweat for going on 25 minutes now. So like, maybe you don't have to be, but like, it seems like a lot to have deviate this. But like what can you do? It's hot outside. Like, sweat's got me all worked up right now. I'm sweaty. But they further distinguished in this category of sweat glands between two, one called eccrine glands and another called apocrine glands. In short, eccrine glands are found everywhere except for your lips, your ear canal, the area around the wiener, the area around the lady parts, what did he say? And the oh gosh. Why does there have to be sweat in these places? Can't we just have no sweat glands there so that way I don't have to talk about it? These eccrine glands are classical sweat glands producing what we call normal sweat. Apocrine sweat glands are a different beast. Mostly because of the places that they're located. They're located in a category on the body that I like to call elsewhere. These special sweat glands are located specifically in the armpit, safe, around the nips, getting less safe, in the area between the butthole and the genitalia. Oh my gosh. Colloquially called the taint. Help us. Father, we have strayed far from you. How do you study that? Like, dear, just imagine with me. You're the scientist that is tasked with the research, answering the hypothesis. The sweat glands on the area between the butthole and the genitalia are different than the sweat glands on your hands. And you just got this dude that's just, he's got I think he probably has a section, but he's just got his microscope and he's just getting right up in there. You had to study that. Like, you had to get up close and personal with that part. You know what I'm saying? Also, these are usually found around the ears and the eyelids. And you can see why we're going to be concerned with the apocrine gland. The downstairs zone is a big apocrine playground. Like, it's literally where the magic happens. These sweat glands give off also the most stink, partially to alert or attract, and they're not usually active enough to produce anything until after hormonal changes during puberty. This is the thing that causes teens to be so stinky. Pubescent teen stink is so unique, so special. Thank you, apocrine glands, for giving us stinky teens. And this is lending to this week's focus. Specifically, here on Privy, our concern with crotch sweat, summer sweatin'. But wait, there's more. 1987, a new challenger to the sweat gland arena approached, the apocrine gland. These glands have characteristics which are found both in eccrine glands and apocrine glands, thus the name apocrine. We really workshopped that one. Like, big workshop on that name. These are the crotch ones. The apocrines are the crotch ones. They give off stank and high output of sweat. Big stink, big zone. Do you know what I'm saying? And so you have eccrine glands in the booty zone, in the cracks and crevices, coupled with the apocrine and apocrine glands of the genitalia and other areas. And it results in a big sweaty stink. But like how? Because I think the question that needs answered, that maybe Egypt and many ancient cultures were struggling, is like, where the flippin' heck does this sweat come from? Like, is it demon magic coming out of my skin? No. Dear listener, if I scared you, it's not. But like, why? And in short, it's the trifecta: heat, friction, and pits. If you got heat, it's increased sweat. If you got friction, it's increased sweat. And if you have pits, like the cracks and crevices in the folds, you're going to have increased sweat. All three: heat, friction, and pits, perfectly describe the crotch and the crotch sweat potential. Or as the Life MD article calls it, forgive my French, pardon my French, swamp ass. That's Shrek's nickname in high school. You know it was. And they note that your diet can also bog your swamp. Spicy foods, caffeine, dang it, being fat, shoot, having diabetes, got cleared today, we're good, can all make your butt and crotch sweat more. Fat guy booty sweat. TM, no. Sweat swamp, though, if left unchecked and unattended to, can cause mad swamp chafing. You ever seen anyone do what I like to call the Disney waddle? Where like they've been walking around in the summer sun, the California or Florida sun, and they've glad-handed Mickey, they've glad-handed Goofy, they've hit Splash Mountain, Tiana, but whatever, it's Splash Mountain. They've eaten the thing. And I mean, they've been around Disney we got to get our money's worth. We're there for like 12 plus hours. And now we got to walk out to the van. Oh gosh. My hair. Gross. But and they've got that where they're trying to walk all bow-legged so their legs don't touch. It's the Disney waddle. The movement has caused what is medically and scientifically known as ultra mega chafe. And when ultra mega chafe happens, things get freaking nuts. Sometimes on your nuts. Sometimes when you have big bog, big sweat, you get big crack stain like that. Just that line of crack sweat that collects on your pants. We know what sweat is, and we know why it arrives on our body, and we can even begin looking at this brief history. Not so brief. I mean, we're 30 minutes of looking at it. Of why we get so much sweat in the bathroom zone so prominently, but that doesn't tell us what we can do about it and how we can begin to remedy the Disney waddle and ultra mega chafe. And it turns out, thanks to the internet and the desire for people to make money, there's no shortage of different options for ways that you can help yourself in this area. I want to note, some of these remedies and life hacks, if you will, are specific solutions to sweat of really any type. They don't just apply to your zone and your swamp, but they will work there. The first and the most straightforward is antiperspirant or deodorant. Now, the difference between these is in the name. Deodorant deodorizes. It covers up the odor and helps you smell good. Antiperspirant actually blocks your pores and keeps them from perspiring or sweating. Antiperspirant stops it up and it doesn't release sweat. So if you're looking to cut down on moisture, antiperspirant. If you don't really care about the moisture, you just don't want to stink, deodorize. And while I think it's acceptable to apply either of these to your crotch, shout at me in the comments. Is it acceptable to deodorize your crotch with classic deodorant stick? But that begs the question, even if that is it appropriate? And I'm going to assume that then one is okay to yoink the stick through the swamp, backdoor swamp on the regular. You gotta have a dedicated stick. If you're gonna run your card, you know what I'm saying? A deodorant stick, we're running card. If you're gonna run the card through the scanner, I feel like you have to have a dedicated deodorant stick for that. You can't be pitting and then swamping your stick. You got to have a pit stick and a swamp stick. Swamp stick. And there's some out there that I've seen on the internet, and they're like, oh, the things inside the deodorant are too aggressive for my tender butthole. Maybe. I guess if it irritates it, don't do it. You don't need to yam it up in there. Just I don't know. What are we doing? What is this podcast right now? Another great option, moving on, is powders. Powders are good because they help absorb moisture. They help capture the sweat that thus leads to chafe. These powders can be game changers for sure. Another solution related to powders in the category of products that you can buy is what's called dry lotion or drying deodorant powder, which can be used to prevent crack and no zone sweat, and also provide like some anti-chafing drying qualities too. I don't know. It's weird. There's a smattering of wipes and things that you can wipe yourself down, pads that will help absorb the sweat and help you not sweat. In some cases, you just put the pad right in the underwear. Sweat pad, swamp pad, maxi swamp. Tim. Another good recommendation, though, is to use moisture wicking fabric for your underwear. And I want to say I might irritate some people on this. I'm not convinced that moisture wicking is real. Like, I'm not convinced of that. We're not platypuses. Like, we're not going to wick all our moisture. Like, how is that true? How is that true? Science, explain to me moisture wick. Because I don't believe it. I was told science was not real. I think it's a bit of a scam. I think it's a bit of a cash grab. And some of these moisture wicking solutions aren't as soft. And so I think a better solution is breathable undergarments. And some of these employ like a mesh netting and other porous fabrics to increase airflow, specifically in those high swamp zones, which again, I don't know how well this does. For me, and my approach is to avoiding ultra mega chafe, it is important to separate your skin from your skin. You don't want your skin to interface with other skin. Consider this a Hoovy's summer anti-chafe hack, which is this. As often as you can put a piece of clothing between the skin in any circumstance when you are anticipating big sweat, you will, when you put a piece of clothing in between, directly decrease your chafing potential. And I am convinced that this is why Hoochie Mama white girls wear, for whatever reason, long leggings in the summer. This is the only possible solution, is because they're trying to cut down on the Disney waddle. Now, it seems counterintuitive, I admit, but I know it works. As a fat kid, it does work. Long underwear in summer can help. It seems backwards. You would think you want to don your short shorts when the summer suns hit. And yes, you might increase summer sweating, but if you separate skin from skin, you will cut back on ultra mega chafe. That's facts. Healthline recommends that you should, quote, and this is a direct quote, let your butt air out from time to time. I understand the game. I'm not going to say I respect the game. I think you have to play the game to respect the game. And I ain't playing this game. But like, if you're going to butthole, how's that going to look? Like, really now, someone just walks in, and in the words of Ozzy Man, you've got spready to the gods, full exposure, just to air dry. The goal is to air dry. At that point, just get a freaking hair dryer and just dry it off that way. You don't need to expose it. And I think this is related, but like, there's people that tan that zone. Like, the context and the setup to tan that area is wild. Like, you have to be outside or in a tanning place, which is, I think, considered public. You can't just like expose it. What are we doing? There is one other sweat-related tip that we do need to address. If it's going to be hot and you're going to be sweating, it's okay. Sweat happens, but here's the deal. Privy listener, when it comes to sweaty swamp, you have to check the toilet seat when you are done. When you get up, you have to take a peek at that seat. Do you know how often I go into the men's staff bathroom at my place of work, and the toilet seat has this weird, like, sweaty, oily sweat stain in the shape of someone's butt and legs on the seat? Like, square up, brother. Like, figure it out. The rules for peeing on the seat apply. Be a sweetie and wipe the gal dang sweat-soaked seaty, please, for the love of all that is privy. It's not hard. It's not hard. No one wants to sit on your poo sweat people. Please. It's hot out here. This is not something that we need to add to the pile that we need to take into account. Do what you need to do to help the sweat swamp situation along. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking in an episode about sweat. I know. Informative. As always, we would encourage you to leave us a rating and review. The 5-star options are preferred. It takes like less than 10 seconds to do it on Apple and Spotify. And for every rating and review you leave, we will donate $1 to Wounded Warriors and Living Water International as a reminder to keep pooping in the free world. This free world was not always free. And as a reminder that we are pursuing cleaner water for all because not everybody has it yet. Visit us on social media. We're at Privycast. You can find me. I'm at Owlet7. Go check out Randy Bowles at Randy Bowles. Follow the Privies on Facebook, our Facebook group. You can find that. And all of those links are available via our website, privy-cast.com. There's a link to a sticker store there. And we have a Sticker Mule store if you want. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out how to get it to where you can buy a single item for cheaper. I'm working on solutions to that problem. Bear with me. If you are interested in some of the stickers you see, but you don't want to pay for more than one, reach out. Send me an email, privycast@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on social media and we'll see what we can do. I have some stickers that I've ordered and I'd love to send them to you and we can work out how that looks as far as payment. Also, just a little transparency thing. A lot of that, whatever money is generated, it goes towards supporting that Wounded Warriors, Living Water, and some of the licensing things, fees, and to like equipment and things that break and stuff like that. I'm not sitting on a large fortune. Don't you worry. As always, we want to thank Kevin MacLeod and Podington Bear for the use of their music this week and any other music that we use. You can find a link, as always, to all the music used in the show in the ding dong below. This brings us to the end of another episode of Privy. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Keep pooping in the free world. Own your stank. Do not sun dry your zone. And careful with the sweaty swamps out there. Just look alive. You got constant vigilance on the sweaty swamps. And now, as always, and check in the seat after you do so. Don't forget to flush.